That was a really weird and interesting sounding chord progression. Very cool. All very Phrygian. All right, hello. Yeah. This is a Critical Guitar. My name's Cole. Hope everyone's doing all right. Today I'm going to look into, well, more modes, specifically Phrygian this time. Phrygian, personally, I find to be a very difficult mode to improvise over, and in its more traditional exotic context, a lot of people seem to agree. So this will be really interesting. We're going to take a look at some chords, hopefully figure out what chord makes the mode, and then we're going to figure out maybe some fun lines or something that sound really Phrygian. So let's get right into it. Let's waste no time. We're going to start by pointing out what the modes are. Let's put it on a little bit different tone here. Let's see. It's a little bit too... Yeah, good. There we go. I've got the 12 notes here, right, on the guitar, all the way open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. And really from the open to 11, we've got 12 notes there, and we know that one note up or next to it is going to be a half step, and 2 notes up is going to be a whole step, chromatically speaking, of course. So if I'm going to play Phrygian, I need to determine where Phrygian is in a certain key, and I'm going to just choose E for a lot of reasons. But E specifically, E is Phrygian in the key of C. So all of the no sharps or flats, I play something that's kind of like, you know, those 8 notes. We're playing a major scale there. So if I start with E and then I just follow the formula here, I'm going to go E, half step up from E is first fret. Then we're going to do whole step, another whole step, then another whole step, then half step, then whole step, and then the last whole step to repeat back to where we were. And again, all of that is just key of C. So whether I'm playing C major or C Ionian, I guess, that was the same thing as playing, those are all the same notes, except I just kind of started on E. That's kind of the technical definition, but really the important thing is to understand what's the sound. What's the sound of this mode? I'd probably make it sound something like this. We need to look into some chords maybe to put behind that in order to help us play and understand that mode a little bit more. And there's plenty of ways that I like to do it, but first we're going to start with defining the chord, as in we know this is a minor derived mode, let's make E minor, and then let's figure out the notes that makes Phrygian interesting, and then we can build it from there. Another way I could have described from what we did earlier is we have C, and then the third degree in the mode, if this is number 1, D is number 2, E is number 3, that's Phrygian. Let's mark all the E's. Really excited for October. I just learned that my wife will unfortunately not be able to join me for a very interesting and important concert, very exciting concert to me, and that is Meshuggah. I don't know if anyone else has it this way, but there are cornerstone bands or musical acts or artists that people eventually find in their life, and it's something that's so cornerstone in key that it's kind of reignited a love of music in a way that you didn't think possible. At least that's just how I feel about them. They really made me give a crap about rhythm, because they shouldn't be able to go that hard, but they do. They really do. And we said this is a minor derived mode. We need to find the fifth. The fifth of E is B. Another way you could do that, of course, is find E here and go up the scale by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's B right there. So let's mark that. I'm going to mark the fifth. I think I'll do it in like a black or a gray or something. We need to move on. And we know that E minor needs a minor third. And that's going to be a G. And if you don't know about intervals between major, minor, third, really this kind of logic won't always be the case, especially when you get to some of the more different scales that actually have like a whole and a half step in between the next note. But it's not a bad shorthand. And let's mark it. We'll mark it in green. Yeah, now we got a classic cage system stuff, if you're familiar with that. We've got all these notes. So what are going to be the interesting ones that make Phrygian Phrygian? Well, if I zoom in, the fourth is shared between a lot, so fourth doesn't really matter. We do have another what looks to be minor 6 over here, and then the minor seventh, and the fourth are really shared by a lot of the modes, but this one, this minor 6, was something interesting that we did find with Aeolian. But I think the more interesting note here we want to focus on is this one. The interval, which is going to be a minor second, or just the second degree in this scale. So let's mark the Fs, and let's see what kind of wacky stuff we can come up with. I'll probably mark it in red. We now have a more manageable fretboard here, all the shapes, and let's see what kind of cool things start to pop out at us. Actually, for the pacing, I mean, I already see like, like this looks like lots of fun. I'm just gonna, here, where's that, 11th fret? Really weird sound, especially since it's just tritones all the way down almost, at least till we get to E. It's, you know, this kind of... But I think what I'm going to do first is figure out what the name of this chord is. And for chord naming, I don't overthink it. I'm just going to use a chord namer. So we have G, E, and B, and then we're adding an F. Let's see what we got. So we got a G, and I do want something with E in the bass. And we've got E minor add minor 2. And I'm just going to have a traditional E minor chord. And I'm going to add the minor 2 just like it says. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. So let's outline that actual shape. For those of you who might know, if you just kind of move back down to there, then you kind of have a traditional E minor chord. If you know the cage system, it's going to be more of an A, but we're just adding that here. If I'm over here at 7th fret, of course I've got the wacky fret markers, so it's hard to tell. And this is a traditional E minor. And I move this up. That pinky, and that's what we get. So we're just calling that an E minor add minor 2, you know, adding the interval of minor 2. And why I can't say E minor 2? Because we are adding it to the chord. We're not suspending it in any way and making it like a E sustained 2. You know, you usually have to have a designator in between there. And here are all of the rest of that. What else maybe makes sense? This looks like a pretty classic one. I'll name this shape too. I'm finding another one right here that might be interesting, kind of like a... Maybe not make it a minor 7th. I mean, mean, we definitely could add the minor 7. Let's see how that sounds. It's kind of weird. I mean, minor 7th stuff I usually attribute to kind of funk and jazz, but if you have that 2 in there, I'm not sure I like that. So this is probably the other one. That kind of seems to make sense, which is why it's really important to acknowledge that really what we're doing is we're finding the root and moving 1 half step up and playing that and making sure there's an E somewhere else in the chord. So here's all the notes that I previously marked. If I just get rid of everything except the root and the minor 3rd, or the root and the minor 2nd, you can just tell they're all right next to each other. It's always 1 half step up. So that's kind of like the music theory way that jazz people and people who are more arpeggio minded start to look at, because they already know how to do an E minor kind of arpeggio. That. They have those kind of shapes memorized where it's like, well, where's the 1? Where's the root? And then I just need to play 1 note in front of it, and all of a sudden you have something else that kind of sounds like something like that. Yeah, the one that I've been kind of focusing on is these 2 note per pattern ones. So now all of a sudden I just need to find, where's B? Where's the 5th of my chord that I'm playing? So I might be jamming out, maybe I'm hanging out, doing minor pentatonic stuff. And I need to find B. And all of a sudden you've got a little bit more flavor to your traditional stuff. But let's look at kind of some more wacky ones. Maybe something like this. Name that shape. No, something, got E. So again, that's 7th fret up here, and this is going to be the 8th fret where I'm starting on F. So that doesn't look too bad. Here it is kind of sped up in your face a little bit. I always love those little shapes where you can do something like that and then move the index finger up. I've looked at really the shapes, I've looked at some chords that are interesting, but there is usually one thing I like to do when diving into modes like this is just see if there's any other chords that can really be utilized. So I've got the notes that we've already described, but if I now start adding in other notes from the key of C, let's see what other notes let's see what other chords we will get out of here. C major 11. It has all of the same notes as that chord, and then C. I don't think I know a C major 11 shape, honestly. Do I know a C major 11 shape? I know Google does. Okay, that one's a little bit of a stretch. Let's try to follow whatever this one's trying to say. So we've got down here. I guess that does sound pretty Phrygian, doesn't it? And then on top of that I go. Interesting bit about this is that shape is really part of a diminished 7th arpeggio, and then you just add a root on top of that. So this is something I learned pretty recently, is when you want to make more extended chords, you go up from 9 to 11 to 13. The piano way to do that is actually to play all 3 of those notes, like root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, then 9th, then 11th, then 13th, to stack all the way up. So previously it did have the 9 in there, which was this note here. You can barely see it. It says 9 over there, but that one That's why they're playing that. And they've completely omitted the fifth too. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is I guess I was a pianist. I could play chords that had more than 5 notes in it, or more than 4, I guess, on a good day. So I've seen a lot of G 13s, and I'm really excited for this one, because if it's the chord I think it is, then I'm really, really excited for it. Something like, yeah, this is like jazz. This is, to me, some of like the most jazzy chords that you can play, the 13s. There's 13. There's 13. Here comes 13 again. We've got ourselves some minor, E minor, add minor 2. Sounds weird like that. And then we've got C, major 13, which I am going to do the 9, this version. Then we've got G 13. Oh, I feel like I'm forgetting one. The one where we have an F in the bass. So let's quickly take a look at that. So we have a major 9 flat 5. So we said this was F. And the fifth of F is C. And so flat of C is B. Yeah, I mean, that sounds okay. That was a really weird and interesting sounding chord progression. Very cool. All very Phrygian. Okay, so we're gonna now go into the next phase of this. What we need to do is we need to go check out some of these other backing tracks, these Phrygian backing tracks, and let's listen to them. See if they use any of these chords, and maybe we'll find something interesting there. Ourselves some E to F, which we kind of expected. Okay, that's... I do think it was a little bit more on the fusion side a bit. Again, when we switch over to F, we're really in kind of Lydian, and we're kind of in a different mode. We're focusing on it. I hear them as 2 separate parts more than a cohesive sound, if that makes sense. What they're doing is pretty much the same thing as last time. That kind of stuff, except they're doing it in C minor. Phrygian is full of tension, and that tension and release playing back and forth is, I think, what makes the mode the mode. There are plenty of notes that don't really fit well if you're not focusing on kind of those 4 that we had looked at. Like, let me give an example. I don't know about that one. I'm not really sure about that one. But, oh, that seems to work for the second chord, but not really for the C minor. Yeah, I don't know. Phrygian is a really tough one. But thank you, Quist. We've run into Quist before. doing the same kind of analysis. Let's see if we can do some other stuff. And it's Quist again. Thanks, Quist. Oh yeah, okay. Again, more of two different things, but let's see what they say the chords are. Yeah, it's like minor and then one step up. And really, this is where the money happens. We're playing Lydian here, and Lydian's really easy. This thing is the one that's tough. Mostly just kind of playing actual blues licks over that instead of, you know, focusing on the actual tone. So what I've kind of learned in this interpretation is we're not going to focus Phrygian as the mode, but instead switch modes and say A minor, this isn't Phrygian, this is Aeolian, or A minor pentatonic, something else. It's just not, we're just not going to play Phrygian. And then we're going to switch when we go to B flat. We're just going to play some Lydian stuff and it's going to sound great. All right. Yeah, otherwise known as Spanish minor. Yeah. And actually they give a good, you know, example there. It says it's minor, and unlike Aeolian, it's the only difference between Aeolian and that is that minor second, which is why we focus on it so much. Yeah, this is reminding me a little bit. It's almost kind of like more simpler melodies and kind of sporadic stuff is going to get you a lot more mileage in evoking this style of flavor, you know, not kind of this Phrygian blues, this tense blues that adds in a little bit of tension in the middle of it. But this is kind of more of the exotic kind of stuff that I would come to expect. So thank you, Chus. Thank you, Chus Music. Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about what we learned here today. So from my perspective, Phrygian is mostly going to be known for the more exotic kind of sounding stuff. We get a lot of get a lot of my mileage calling it stuff like Spanish minor or maybe blues with some tenseness in it, and you know, we can call it there. Really, it's, as the backing track did say, it is one of the only modes. Actually, it is the only mode that's minor derived and has the minor second in it, and it sounds interesting. It sounds odd, and really you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it if you know what Phrygian sounds like and you're choosing to make stuff tense and then release it with stuff with more licks kind of that are like minor pentatonic or straight up Lydian. We learned that if we're talking about key of C, actually, we'll say we know that E is going to be that third degree in the scale and is going to be Phrygian for us. We know that in E minor, add minor second is going to be a very powerful chord to use, swapping between minor in order to help evoke that sound. If you do want to transition to some other chord, a very popular one seems to be going 1/2 step up to the fourth, which would normally be Lydian. And that 4 chord, we're going to play a minor ninth flat 5. So we still emphasize some of those notes that that makes Phrygian and sound less Lydian. Of course, that 4 chord in the key of C is an F, so we'll do an F major 7 flat 5. Some of the other type chords that we found were going to be G13, G dominant 13 is another way to say it. And also we had C major 11 actually, which was kind of built up as a little diminished triad in there, and then throwing a C note on top of it, and oh yes, it's all of the chords that we expected. So between all of those chords, you can really evoke Phrygian before your listener even knows it. You can add tension in the same way that Phrygian does without your listener knowing. And then as soon as you hit that E minor, they're already going to be primed for it. And just to help illustrate that fact, I'm just going to try to do that. So we'll start out. Sounds pretty good to me.